Hello and welcome back to my channel where we talk about things budgeting, saving, investing related, and so really just anything to do with money. And today I'm going to be talking about something that I found really interesting. What I did is I went through Tesla's stock price at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, for the month of September, and I figured out how much money you would have made if you bought at every high and sold at every low. And this video actually took me a lot longer to prepare for than most videos that I make, so if you enjoy this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Now, before I show you the numbers that I came up with, I want to talk to you a little bit about why I came up with this video idea. And for me, it started back in March of this year. Now, back in March is really when this pandemic took off and we all started working from home. You know, the stock prices were going back and forth every day. Some days we were hitting the limits where the stock market would just shut off. Other days we were having 20-30% returns in some places. And so what I started doing is I noticed that some of the most volatile stocks were the cruise industry and the airline industries, just like many other people have noticed. Now, these industries were heavily impacted because day to day the news was changing completely. And one day it's, hey, things are looking better. The next day, hey, things are terrible and we're gonna be closed down forever. And so those stock prices were fluctuating like crazy. So what I did is I took $2,000, I put it into the Robinhood investing app, and I started day trading Royal Caribbean and Norwegian Cruise Line stocks. Now, I say day trading, I really didn't do it day to day because you actually hit limits if you don't have over $25,000 in Robinhood. And so I would have only been allowed to make 3 trades. So really is I bought one day and sold the next day or sold a couple of days later. But anyway, the point is I only held on to those stocks for a very small amount of times, hoping to get big gains, sell off, wait for the stocks to drop, and then get bigger gains when I buy back in. Now, this actually worked really well for me, and I made about $1,000 within the first couple weeks of doing this off of my original $2,000 investment. So I made a 50% return very, very quickly. And if I did that with $1 million, great. I would be up 50% this year, and I'd be at $1.5 million. That would be an awesome year in investing. However, I just did it with a small amount of money with only what I was comfortable losing. Now, when it comes to short-term stock trading or day trading, I would definitely recommend only do it with what you're comfortable losing, because just as likely as you are to get a ton of money, you're probably even more likely to lose all of that money. And so I just happened to be lucky and I happened to get out when I was ahead. And since then, I haven't really gone back into doing that. I've gone a lot more into long-term stock investing or dividend growth stocks. But either way, that experience got me really interested in figuring out how much money I could actually make if I was right all the time for just 1 month with one stock that was swinging up and down day by day. And so with that, I decided to pick Tesla, and now we can go ahead and I'll get into it and let me kind of show you what I figured out. All right, so as you can see here, I pulled in all this data, these first 3 columns from Yahoo Finance. And I have the date that it happened on, the opening stock price for Tesla on that date, and then also the close stock price. And just so you know, this was right after the stock split. Now, as you can see here, just from these open and close columns, you can see that the stock price does fluctuate quite a bit day by day. On the right side over here, you'll see some green and red indicators. These are the days that I put that you should buy on and the days that you should sell on. Now, as you can see, all of these match up to buying low and selling high. Now, I've actually already put in some calculations here, and so you'll see I have 2 more columns in the middle. We have shares at the end of the day and then value at the end of the day. And so what these 2 columns represent are how many shares you're gonna have at the end of the day of owning that stock. So sometimes it will be 0 because, hey, overnight that stock is gonna go down and you don't wanna own any shares. However, the value should always be growing because you should only be making positive trades. Tesla's stock price went down by about 14.6% over the month of September. It started at 500, it went all the way down to 429. Now, what I did is in the bottom here, I have a place where we can enter our starting amount. And so let's say, for example, we started with $1,000. So we'll put in $1,000. And boom, you can see these middle 2 columns very quickly populate all this information. So if you want to pause the video here, take a look at it, feel free to pause it for a second. That way you can kind of look through this data that I've input here. Okay, now I'm not going to go through every single data point, but I want to point out some things here. So you can see on day 1, at the end of the day, we started by buying 2.11 shares of Tesla, and that cost us $1,000. And so that's why we have the buy indicator here. Now, this left column is the beginning of the day and the right column is the end of the day. So if you're trying to read this, on the right side it says buy at the end of the day 1, sell at end of day 2. Hold, hold, hold. So on day 3, we're just completely holding. We're not buying back in yet. However, on day 4, we're buying again at the beginning of the day and selling at the end of the day. And so with that key, you kind of should be able to go through this and kind of figure out what I did. But you can see that on day 1, the positive trade was to buy at the end of the day and sell the next morning. And you can see here, hey, if we bought it at the end of the day, we would have bought at $475 and we would have sold at $478. We wouldn't have gotten the loss through day number 2 because day number 2 it ended at $447. However, it doesn't start going back up for at least a full day, a full time period, or overnight until we have day 4 down here in the morning, which we bought in again, and then we would sell at night because overnight it dropped a ton. Now, if you follow this key and you go through it, you can see that after a kind of a week of holding Tesla stock, we probably went up about 10%. However, through the entire month, we went up 82.73% just by making positive, favorable trades either at the end or the beginning of the day. Now, that doesn't account for what happens in the middle. Of course, if you made positive trades every time it went up and down, it would be way, way higher than that. This is just the beginning and end of the day, so making 60 correct predictions within that month. Now you can see here it's going to be the same. If we put in $500,000, you'll see that, hey, we almost again doubled our money, almost made $1 million, or got to $1 million. We would have made about $400,000. But either way, if you can correctly predict what a stock is going to do 60 times, even though it's just small influxes every time, they compound on each other, and then you're able to make a ton of money. However, being able to do something like that is super unrealistic. You'll see here, I put down the odds of this happening are over 1 in a quadrillion. That's not 1 in 1,000, a million, a billion, a trillion. That's over 1 in 1 quadrillion of that happening. However, even the chances of you getting this right 50% of the time, so only 30 of the 60 guesses, is way, way unfavorable for you. If you only had to make 2 guesses, the percentage of you getting it right both times is 25% of the time. If you only have to make 1 guess, the percentage of chance you're gonna get it right is 50% of the time. And so really, if you do look into doing day trading or kind of multi-day trading, kind of like I did, you really need to consider, hey, what is the risk and what is the reward? And to me, I feel like the reward wasn't worth the risk. I feel like I got very lucky. Now, what I'm talking about here is just based off of random guesses. Of course, if you're doing analysis and things like that, your chances are much, much better. This doesn't really take that into account. And so if you do have that kind of a skill, then yes, your odds are gonna be much better. Anyway, I just thought that was a pretty cool, pretty fun little exercise that I did. It was fun to see how much money you would have made with Tesla in 1 month. It looks like you wouldn't have been able to double your money. However, you can get pretty close. And if you did that throughout a year, you could become a millionaire very quickly, even just starting with $1,000. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this fun little video. Maybe learned a lesson about how risky it could be to day trade or do multi-day trading, or at least just enjoyed the idea of how much money you can make if you were right every single time. And so hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, go ahead and give this video a like, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.